going to get here, so we're going to let them. I got it. Okay. So we're going to let them be able to tune into it.
Put on my makeup. I'll be right back.
Oh, good. Go put on your makeup. Oh, there's Kathy. Great. Anybody else want time to put their makeup on? Okay. Well, listen, welcome. We really hope this will be helpful, and we want to make sure that you know that we're welcoming your input at every session all along the way, because we tried to bring together some resources, but we know that other people have them as well. So we're going to try to keep it, have some humor involved, because that seems to always be important when you're thinking about stuff. And we're going to try to be sure it's helpful, and we're going to try to be sure we get ideas from all of you as neat as you wish to contribute. So Deborah Ann is going to talk about first what this is and what this is not. You're on, Deborah Ann.
All righty. Well, first off, we're going to talk about what this is not. This is not a guilt trip. Okay. Clutter doesn't mean you're a bad person, you know, and having too much stuff or lack of organization really is usually only going to affect you. So this isn't about, you know, trying to make life better for your kids after you're gone. You know, this isn't about anything but yourself, and there's no final exam. So, you know, we're not trying to make this a serious thing. Many of us have found by lightening our load, it lightens up our life. So it's just simply an optional thing. So what this is, though, is more of a forum about sharing, you know, how our environments are affected by how we live in them. We're going to keep this light and not get into the reasons why we have stuff. We all know they're numerous. You know, that's, you know, we're going to get encouragement from each other and find ways that we've each found that works for moving stuff and getting stuff out of there, you know, and find out how to know when you're ready to select the things you want to have in your life. We're going to make a game out of this. There's, you know, there's going to be fun things to do that make this lighthearted. And we're going to give you resources on what to do with the stuff once you get it out of your house. Except, Betty Ann, this isn't going to help you an awful lot, even though you did print out the list.
No problem.
Well, it might give her ideas that she can look up.
Yeah, there's similar facilities in your neighborhood, I'm sure.
Great. Okay. Anything else? Any questions for us? Does anybody have something they're really hoping that we will cover?
I had hoped that I could turn everything over to this organization, that then they can sell it.
Well,
Glad you're laughing.
sounds like a good idea. Or,
Well, is that a possibility?
She's got a point, and there were numerous places like that in Arizona, and a couple of them were church related.
uh-huh.
And they just took it over, and you got 60% and they kept 40, and
Well,
it's done.
There's places that do estate sales here, you know, yeah.
Okay, well, that's something we'll consider definitely, Delma. We'll keep
Yes.
that on high on the list. Anybody else have something they really want us to tackle? Or are you willing to go along and see what happens?
How about photographs?
Photographs.
Old
Okay.
photographs. How do you get?
I don't know. Jim Fitch and I spent about a week with a trash can,
Yeah.
Okay.
getting rid of that photograph of the little specks on the ski hill that was so important back.
Oh,
Well,
That's a tough one.
I'll tell you, well, when that will probably be addressed, Ed, is in the third session, we're going to, and
The paper.
Deborah Ann's going to talk more about that. We're going to talk about paper. And
Oh,
that's not really paper, but it could sort of is.
I will put it in there.
There is some really clever, I mean, I see them and I don't know much about them, of ways that you can archive, photographs from a paper image into a digital image, but that's a whole thing. And I
Right.
don't know that much about it, but I could
Yeah.
look at some of it.
Look at that. We'll look at that issue. That's an important.
I have another issue I'd like you to consider.
Yeah.
How much goes with the house when it's sold? And I have a large garden. I've been in this house for what, 30, 40 years? And it's the only house I've ever owned. And I have all kinds of equipment and garden material. And
Delma, you could just sell that. Like we're talking about somebody selling your stuff. That could be part of it.
my accountant says no sales.
Okay.
On
And you
yard
have-
stuff.
Because then you have to pay taxes on the sales.
Okay, well, Delma, we're going to make a list for you, and we probably won't deal with it right now, but we will try to get back to you either individually or during these sessions. We'll try to deal with these things. 'cause they're
Yes, 'cause
important.
I've
You
never
have to
sold-
sell it or give it away, Delma. Those are kind of your choices.
I've never sold a house, so I don't know what goes with it and what you keep.
Nothing. Because your equipment is as old as you are probably.
No, not quite. Maybe not.
You know,
Good
so
point.
people bring their newer equipment with them.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
I also
actually,
have a large art studio. full
Well, I
of
know.
art,
yeah.
That's
art materials and art that I haven't
Yeah.
sold.
Well, unless you,
We'll have to have a private meeting, Delma. You and me and Mary Lou will start having a private meeting about what to do with your house,
We'll
okay?
supplement. We'll supplement. But I'm glad you're raising those issues because
That
other
is a
people
big
are probably
issue.
thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, now, next on the agenda, I don't want to overlook this. Toby Hasty, who's right down at the bottom of my screen. I'm not sure where he is on yours,
To
but
the far left,
Yeah,
on the others. No,
okay,
no political comment, by the way.
great.
second row on the far right on my screen. I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Toby's willing to do a little testimonial about an experience of his, which I think you'll enjoy. Go for it, Toby.
Okay, I'll give you the short version. It started probably 25 years ago. My wife had gone on a 10-day backpack trip on the Pacific Crest Trail. She came home and was unpacking and she said, "How is it I can live for 10 days out of something I carry on my back, my house, my kitchen, my bathroom things, my clothes, etc." And we started thinking, gee, yeah, that's true. And at that point, we lived in a house that had 2,800 square feet in it. And we started looking around going, wow, this is a lot of stuff. Well, we didn't do much about it. Then we moved to Tucson and we got rid of some things. And we moved into a community where conspicuous consumption was the name of the game. And unfortunately, we felt afraid of that. So we started adding in more things. Then we moved up here. We got some things given away. And then when my wife died, the start of last year, I was going through things. Before she died, she said, "I really want you to give my clothes away to, anybody or any place that can use them. And my business attire, I want to go to this place here in Yakima that outfits women who are looking for jobs and need something nice to wear." And so I went through and started doing that. But then I looked at my side of the closet and I'm going, my God, what do I need all these clothes for? I don't wear them. And so it picked up from there and I went through rooms and got rid of things. At least I thought I did. Then I had my two daughters come over and my oldest granddaughter. And I said, anything in this house you want, you go through the closets, the drawers, the rooms, etc. Anything you want. And if I think I need it or something, I'll tell you. So they did that for 2 weekends in a row and hauled stuff out of here. Some, my one daughter did. My other daughter, who was a minimalist, I think took 5 items. But my other daughter is the opposite. So she took a lot of stuff. But then I still had so many things. I gave my Northwest Coast basket collection to the Burke Museum along with my Kachina collection. I sold my Navajo rugs. It's the only thing I did sell.
Wish I would have been there.
Yeah, no, I had a floor size, 2 hanging rugs, etc. And I sold them back to a buyer in Moab, Utah. So that's the only things I sold. And I still had a lot of stuff. So I don't know that many people here. So I called 4 of my neighbors who I knew somewhat. And I said, come over to my house for lunch. And here's the deal. You have to leave here with at least 10 items. And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, hey, I'm getting rid of this stuff. I'm going to do the same thing I did with my daughters. You come in, you go through the rooms, the closets, the drawers, anything you see that you want, it's yours. Unless I have a real attachment to it, but I'd already gone through that phase. And they did, and it took 2 weekends. And so I got rid of a lot of stuff. But you walk in my house now, you would say, my God, it doesn't look like you got rid of anything. Well, you know, that's in the eye of the beholder. But 3 things hit me kind of at the same time I was doing this. One was a philosopher by the name of Diogenes, who got rid of everything he owned and kept a cup until he saw a man drinking from a stream with his hand, and he threw away his cup. That was one. 2 is Mahatma Gandhi, who said, live simply so others can simply live. I always thought that was pretty cool. But the one that really got me, especially going into where we lived in Saddlebrook, Arizona, and this is a quote from Will Rogers: people spend money they don't have on things they don't need to impress people they don't like. And I thought, how apropos. You know, and at least in this community, I saw a lot of that, conspicuous consumption. But that was kind of my thing. I'm still getting rid of some things. I still have too much kitchen equipment, and because I love to cook, but I got it down to where I use 2 pans, 2 pots, 1 steamer, and then all the other stuff I just don't use. And so I'm still getting rid of that. I got rid of 3 sets of dishes just last week and kept 1 set. Things like that. So I don't know, I'm still doing it. But I've read a lot of books, a lot of articles and all this on downsizing. But I'll tell you, you can kind of get caught in a trap, because whether you're looking at downsizing, simplifying your life, minimalism and all this, the gamut runs from people that say, or purport to say, you can live on 100 things. Just keep 100 things. That's all you need in your life. To people that are saying, well, downsizing really is just getting all your stuff, putting it in see-through bins, stuffing it out in the garage. And so, and everything in between. So really, you know, my opinion is that it ends up being what you want to have it, you know, and yeah, I take a little from all of them and like that. So again, it's an individual choice.
That's
Exactly.
great, Toby. Thank you. That's
Good.
inspiring. Very thought-provoking.
Yeah, thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah, namaste. Good. Okay. Well, that was quite a lot to think about. But my next little exercise is to get you thinking about your own stuff with some humor, hopefully. And this is called the Spaceship House Liftoff. And what I want you to imagine is that, you know, finally, climate change has reached the point where we're not going to be able to live on our planet anymore. And because of the, you know, the big tech companies have gotten together and they have designed a way to transform our homes, every one of our homes, into a spaceship. And we're going to be able to lift off in our homes and go to a new planet to live. In fact, they're working on a schedule. They're going to schedule it across the country so that we don't have traffic jams going, so there's going to be a schedule of when your home is going to get a chance to lift off. But the only rub is that you have to lighten your home by half in order to qualify, and you don't want to get left behind. It's not going to be fun to be left behind. So now, you got to think about what are you going to keep, and if you want to keep that, what are you going to trade off to get rid of? So, and of course, this is a joke designed to get you starting to think before next time about what you're ready to say goodbye to and what you're not ready to say goodbye to. So when I tried this, the first thing I came up with, and then I'm going to ask some of you to come tell me what your thoughts are. The first thing I realized is I'm not willing to part with my plants. I've had some of my plants for 30 years and I'm very attached to these plants. They weigh quite a bit, however. So I'm trying to decide, okay, what am I willing to give up for those? And actually, the first thing that popped into my mind was I'm very willing to give up a bunch of books. We're going to talk later about where you can take books, but I have all sorts of books from different times in my life that I do really not need anymore. I know I'm not going to look at them, even though I've always thought they were wonderful to have around. But if I have to get rid of half of my stuff, I'm going to give up some of those books. And I'm also going to give up some of those magazines that I get, and I read part of an article and I put it aside to come back to it later. And then I never get back to it. So I'm going to get rid of a bunch of those magazines. Who else has a thought about what they might want to keep and what they might get rid of?
Well, do you want us to take a few minutes and brainstorm and then make some suggestions? I got 5 things on my list while you were talking.
Okay, go for it.
You might need a couple minutes to come up with a good list.
What would be on your list?
Well,
Kathy?
even one thing.
What's on your list, Emily?
I said even one thing I can think of. I have a pastry degree besides my business degree. And so I have all this stuff for doing desserts and high-end stuff. And I don't do any of it anymore, but I kept it. It's kind of like that's part of who you are.
Yeah.
And that stuff after I moved, I'm like, what in the hell did you pack all this up for and move it? And it just takes up space. And that's the stuff I'm going to get rid of.
Okay. And what did you have any thoughts about something you definitely don't want to get rid of?
Well, I definitely want to get rid of some books, but there's some books that I absolutely will not get rid of. So
Great. Good. Okay. Who else?
Kathy, are you still making your list?
Well, I can get started.
Okay.
One of the things for me, and I think that I know at least one other person in here would be part of this. For me, when I was starting to figure this out, is if you live in a house with the same person for a long time, when they pass away, there's a lot of stuff in your house that you don't know where it is. Things that Dennis put away for some reason, and I know it exists, but I don't know where it is. There are other things that I don't know how to say this. I don't know whether I need them or not, because they belong to categories of household activities that I've not previously been responsible for. So, for example, I've done a little bit of that. Like I asked this one friend of mine that's both a chemistry teacher and a realtor, I had some sort of sander for the walls. It's something you use before you paint, and I've never painted a wall in my life. And I said, if I hire somebody to paint my walls, will they bring all that stuff themselves because it's part of their business? And she said, yeah, you don't need that. And so a lot of my categories are like that. It's like, okay, I had a couple people from YVC come and move a shelf from my garage to a bedroom. They were just really taken with my husband's pegboard of tools. I was like, wow. And I have no idea which of those 10 things out of 200 I should keep. So there's a lot of decision making because some of the stuff I don't even know what it's for.
I can
And
help you
so,
with that, Kathy.
yeah, I appreciate that. That one is not as quick on the list as some other things, but yeah, it is something I'll need help with. And, you know, I probably own 40 screwdrivers and I probably only need 5.
Maybe that, not even that many, yeah.
So other things on, I own, even though I'm totally anti-gun at this point, due to being widowed, I own 2 guns. So I'm not real sure what to do with those. I own a fishing rod. I own a large collection of LP records. But see, I have this other issue, maybe not all of you do, is that there's certain things in my house that mean something to my children, but they don't really quite have the space to, they want them, but they really want them in my house. And since I plan to live here for 5 more years, I'm more willing than maybe some other parents to let them leave some of these things in my house as long as it's clearly identified that they're theirs and they will at some point come and get them. I really want to get rid of all my dishes except for the set that I use. But that has complications too, because my daughter thinks some of them are heirlooms. And so the question is how much you push somebody during COVID to come get shit. I have lots more. I've given a lot of cookbooks away. I have a lot more to go. I want to go through all the games in my house and figure out which ones I personally like to play and keep those. And games that people gave our family that maybe we never even ever played, I have to get rid of those. But I have to first figure out who gave it to me. If it's like a game that my brother gave me when he's only bought me 5 things in my life, I want to try and talk my son into taking it instead of just giving it away. I think I probably can give my muffin tins away since I never bake anything. But, you know, it might be nice to have 1 muffin tin for when granddaughters come over. So I'm still, you know, having trouble with that one.
Well,
And I still have some more clothes of my husband's that I need to find a home for.
well,
So that's my list so far.
that's an inspiration. Did that get anyone else thinking?
I think I just have to go closet to closet is what I'm gonna have to do.
Uh-huh.
I was gonna say, I just felt badly for you. That's a lot of stuff.
That's a lot of stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a lot of stuff.
Then when I go closet to closet, I look and none of it's my stuff. So how do you get rid of stuff that isn't your stuff? It's
Whose
either your
stuff is
husband's
it?
or your kids', right?
Whose stuff is it,
Yeah.
Janet?
Either my husband's or my kids' stuff. So,
Are they
Yeah.
living there?
and so then I just close the closet and move on. It's
Well,
a different day.
Someone
If
I
it's you, how tough you want to be with your kids about getting things. I mean, I know parents who, the day their kid went to college, my daughter can tell me of somebody that she lived in the dorm, you know, that was in her dorm, that literally had her belongings hanging from strings in the roof on the ceiling of her room because her parents refused to have anything of hers in their home once she left.
Well, let's eliminate that option. I don't think many of us are going to go for that. But
And but what I'm getting at is there is a halfway point. You know,
Right.
I'm starting to realize, okay, there's certain things that I'm keeping for people that are in my way.
Mhm. Yeah, but I think again, everybody's got to figure that out based on how much space they have and
Yeah.
what the relationship with their kids are, how old they are, how close they live, all that stuff. So that's
Yeah,
an individual
That's
decision. that-
big issue.
No.
It's a big issue.
Yeah. A friend of mine just recently said that, you know, if you can't throw away your spouse's things, so you can just start with your stuff, and that might get some other people inspired. That's one, I think Toby's a great example of that. His wife's questions about, heck, if we can backpack, you know, I remember thinking, okay, I have a little 20 by 20 cabin in Pennsylvania, and there's limited stuff I can have there. I have no trouble. I have to all go in bins so the mice don't eat it when I leave. That's easy to do. So if I can do that, I can do something like that in another part of my life.
Yeah.
Well, a math teacher at YVC told me that his wife had been watching, what's the lady about if it gives you joy? I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, she'd been reading that stuff and
Yeah.
her,
The time to freeze.
Lost Kathy, huh?
all of his clothing was on bed in the guest room. And she said, okay, you gotta take these one at a time and apply the Carapondo thing. You can't put anything back in that closet unless you can convince me it gives you joy. And somehow I would ignore that instruction, but he actually did it and got his stuff down quite a bit too.
That is the other consideration. How much space do the people have you want to give things to? Do you know you cannot give to most libraries anymore? They have too many technical things that they moved in on the shelves. They don't have space for books anymore. So
Yeah.
you have to find out whether they want it or not. I have a bid for my art library. Heritage would like that, but they now already have all of my professional books,
Mhm.
and they're not gathering anymore. I don't think, oh, I know YVC hasn't taken books for a long time. So
And we're
Yeah.
gonna talk about that on the resource list in a few minutes, because that's an important thing is for some people is where to take stuff once you know what you want to give away. So that's another important question. Does anybody else have any thoughts about things they are wishing to get rid of or no? Okay. Well, then let's move on to Deborah Ann was just going to talk to you about the two things we're going to still do today are she's going to talk a little bit about what we're going to tackle next time and how this conversation can help you with that. And then I think it's a good idea for us to at least briefly go over this resource list and talk a little bit about, because some of people who are here have some information to share about places on the list, and they might also have other ideas of resources that we didn't come up with that would be helpful. I mean, just right now, you know, some kinds of books. I mean, Toby talked about giving some stuff to the Brick Museum, some kind, and you know, I know Delma's done that. So if you have valuable collections, that's something that you really need to consider. But if it's not valuable collections, then what are some other resources that might be useful to you? So Deborah Ann, you're on.
Okay, in the next session, we're going to talk more about, you know, physical clutter, stuff you have around your house. And we have another game that we'll talk about then called the hidden clutter gremlins. And it's a fun game to play that there's a whole list that we have of things that you should look for, but it's the hidden things. This isn't necessarily the fact that, you know, you haven't seen the coffee table in, you know, a few years or anything like that. It's the little bitty things that glom up and you don't even realize you have, that suddenly the drawer is crammed full of stuff and you have no idea why, you know, and it's just accumulation. it's the bowl on the table that suddenly is filled with junk mail and things like that, that you don't even realize that are happening, that are daily accumulation. So we're going to talk about things like that, but it's going to be fun and silly, and I hope everybody has a good time with it. Sort of like how you got to have too much stuff. And then we're going to talk a little bit about, how to eat an elephant, that, you start and you do it one bite at a time, because I have done a lot of work with people of decluttering and reorganizing houses over the years, been hired to do that. And the thought of taking on a whole room or a whole house is so overwhelming that people don't do it, because it's like, oh my God, I just, I haven't seen the coffee table, I haven't seen the floor, I don't know where my chair is, and I've been in houses that are like that. But most of us aren't true hoarders. It's just those little gremlins that have added up. So we're going to talk about how to start just one bite at a time and not make it an overwhelming task, to just kind of start at it. And I found that in my house, once you start and you get this drawer clean, then it's like, oh, I wonder what's in the next one. And it can be a fun thing to do. And you're never tackling a big project. You're just doing little bits at a time. So we'll talk about ways of doing all of those things, and getting rid of the things that have fallen in the nooks and crannies over the decades, because many of us have lived in the same house for a long, long time. And unlike Emily, who's probably down to more of the minimum than most of us, because she's just had to clean everything out to move. But
and Toby, because he's put.
And Toby, right. But even Emily brought a bunch of sentimental stuff, and how to deal with sentimental stuff that you really, you have to come to terms with some things. But we're not going to get into the deep sentimental stuff, because that's a whole different issue. So next week we're going to talk about that and more about the resources, and get other people's ideas of how they've tackled things. And then the third session that we're going to tackle paper. And I've put the photographs on that list too, because that is a big one, because for the most part, photographs, I have photograph albums. Since we went digital, it's so nice. My photographs are just one click away from being deleted from the planet. But my photo albums are mostly my record of what I did in my life, and they don't mean anything to anybody else. But they're harder for someone else to get rid of than for you. So that's another issue that I think would make a great conversation in the third session between us, and what to do with those. So we're going to deal with paper, whether it's the file cabinets or your desktop or your countertop or wherever paper collects. So that's basically what the next two sessions are going to be about. As we said before, we want it to be real interactive. So come with thoughts, ideas, and questions.
Okay.
And how to keep things from coming back to you. I'm beginning to get things now back to me that I gave to nieces and nephews. Now they're cutting down, and so they're sending them to me.
Oh, that is a problem.
Yeah, my folks are downsizing too, and they send me everything. Every time I go and see them, they give me another box.
Yeah.
This is really interesting. It gives you an interesting view of our culture, doesn't it? We're all passing these boxes
Passing
around.
stuff back and forth.
That's it. And they want to know why I don't come visit. It's because I don't want another box.
Can you drop it off at the Goodwill in your town on your way home?
Well, mainly it's photographs is what it is.
Oh.
A lot of it is just
Boy, and
photographs. It's just so it's easier to just say and take it, and then do
rid of
something
it.
with it later, but I always forget to do something with it later, so I have all these
You know, there,
boxes.
that's your, yeah, you have, because I have a small box that of photographs that my mother gave me and documents, but they date back to the like 17 and 1800s. And I'm very grateful to have them. But I put them all on a CD and wrote up the stories and sent them to my nieces and nephews. And some of them didn't even reply. I mean, I did this huge PowerPoint of both sides of my family. And it was like, oh, thank you.
Ungrateful youth.
Well,
And they're not youth anymore, they're middle-aged. But my daughter knows where the box is and hopefully she will keep it. But the rest of my photo albums, I don't know what to do with them except to toss them out. But I don't want to lose my memory before I lose my memory, you know? So,
Yeah.
I hate to throw them out.
One warning about throwing them out. A friend of mine died when she was about 90, but what she did in her last couple of years, she'd partly gone blind, and her caregiver would come and she'd spend hours, the caregiver, looking through the books. And it was so much fun for my friend to tell her about the trip she'd gone on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have-
know.
They have a purpose. Yeah.
They do, but I know what when my second husband died, he had all these slides that were of a life I had never participated in with his kids and everything. None of them were even speaking to him at that point. And it's like, man, I'm just tossing out this guy's memory, you know, it was really weird.
it's hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So, you know, I think one thing that's coming up are some of the tough parts and the obstacles. And I confessed to Deborah Ann before we were doing this that, you know, one of my obstacles is if I don't know exactly where to take things, then I just don't bother. You know, I just say, oh, well, when I figure that out, I'll do that. And then I forget about it. And my house is big enough so that it doesn't appear to me at all times, like the TV that I haven't, you know, that I put in the basement that I can't probably even carry out of the basement anymore. I wasn't sure where to put it. So when I got a flat screen TV, I just stuck it in the basement. Or the computer that that my old laptop that I'm not sure whether it has everything off it. So should I just, you know, what if I gave it to someone and there's private stuff on there? What am I going to do about that? I'm not sure how to erase it.
No,
So
just
I have an
unscrew the hard drive.
Do what?
Unscrew the hard drive from inside it.
I don't know how to do that, but
I always
Next
dismantle
time
mine.
I
I
do
don't
I'll bring
know
it.
Take it to Best Buy.
That's right. Okay. See, I knew you guys would come up with an answer. So
Jack 'em
Can
out.
those things be advertised in the newspaper?
Nobody
Does
wants to go over.
anybody do that?
what, advertise their stuff in the newspaper?
Yeah, like
Yeah,
a
there's a whole
section
I've never
anymore.
used. And I'd be happy to have somebody just come and pick it up. Can you advertise in the paper?
I
You can, it
suppose.
depends on what it is,
You might
Delma.
be, you might be sorry for who might show up at your door. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that you want to do that.
be a little careful about that.
I know when I,
Not for the 25 or 50 bucks you're going to get for it, whatever it is. The resale on stuff isn't real good. It's easier to donate it.
yeah.
What kind of things are you thinking of, Delma?
Pardon me?
What kind of things were you thinking about?
Well, I have a planter in the basement, one of those, 5 layers of how to raise your plants when they're
You
small.
could probably get $5 for it. I wouldn't do it.
See, things like that, if somebody just come pick them up, but I don't know.
No. We're gonna work on your house. We'll come by and we'll deal with this. That's a completely different issue. We can work on your house if you really want us. If you really want to work on cleaning out your house and simplifying things and getting rid of stuff, we can do that.
Or we can start making some lists so that when you're ready to, you can.
Yeah,
you know.
right.
But what I was going to say about the resource list is that we some of you didn't print it off, but you can do that later if you didn't. but we have a place for donations, and we've got Restore on there, which is the habitat place. We have found out, one thing that Emily pointed out is Restore used to come pick stuff up. They pick stuff up from me. They picked up air conditioners in my house, but now they're not doing that. In fact, I couldn't even reach them on the phone to talk to them. So before you don't assume that any of these places are the perfect place until you do some calling around. But I do know that Summit Thrift and Mission Thrift and Lighthouse Thrift are all places that take stuff. Who knows what kinds of things they take? I think they take
just about anything. I've taken truckloads of stuff down. I mean, like trunks full of stuff down there.
they take books.
They will take furniture and china, and when you were talking about getting rid of all the china and heirloom china, nobody wants heirloom china. It is absolutely worthless.
At the downtown Mission place is where, and I think they'll still do it. We took like, a TV that didn't work, and I don't know if they still do, but they used to have somebody that was pretty good at being able to cannibalize old computers and old TVs and things like that, and
Where
figure
was
out
that? Where'd you take it?
down
You-
at the
Lighthouse.
Mission. I don't
Oh,
know the
okay.
name of that one, but it's the big door that's like right across from where the Mission people sleep. I don't know which one that is. It's
What
not
did you-
real. It's
What
not
did you
real.
take? What did you take there?
I
Mission
took,
down on First?
yeah. I took like an old TV, and I think,
Oh.
I don't know, if it had a computer screen or what we had, and then we took my husband's walkers and a bunch of stuff like that too. But and I don't know if it's still true, but they had somebody that was into technology, and they could scrap out the things that were useful, and I, as I say, I may be telling old information, but it was kind of like most places don't want to take the computer stuff because the throwing away is so expensive.
Yeah.
But he knew enough about what could be scrapped out that they were approximately coming out even.
Mhm.
And they felt it was a really good community benefit to have this stuff not
Oh.
going to the landfill. The only
Yeah, I
of course,
don't know.
all
'cause
of
I-
that
Huh.
is, if you're gonna give away like some sort of old computer or something, you have to have somebody, and some of you may already know this yourself, I certainly don't, but to drain all the information off
Right.
of it, don't
Take
want
the
to give.
hard drive out.
Yeah.
Hard
you
drive
just-
out. Right.
The
But,
best place for that, I think, is Best Buy, because they will take out the hard drive if you don't know how. And I had an old CD disc player that held 100 discs. I didn't
Mhm.
want it anymore.
Yeah,
They took it down there.
And they
Now
don't
they-
charge you? They don't.
Now they will, excuse me, now they will charge you if it's something that's gonna cost them to dispose of it.
Okay.
yeah,
But-
I think that's maybe a change. I'm pretty sure that like 3-4 years ago, they weren't doing that.
What,
But-
did they buy?
I just took stuff there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is that I think that that's a change in how they've been doing it, and I had considered them again because, a couple of years, or I could be so far off, I could be talking 5 years ago, but they were telling me, no, just throw it in the bottom of the ocean kind of thing, and they
Oh.
really didn't have a plan. But now these places need to have something reliable to tell
Betty Ann,
people.
What were you gonna say, Betty Ann?
You're gonna talk about this later, but so that I can get ready for later. Do we keep financial information for 7 years?
That's what I thought.
I think that's right, yeah.
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah.
Okay, so that's my problem, one of my problems.
Yes. Okay, good. We're going to get back to that. Well, then we also have listed the Yakima Goodwill on Tieton, on 37th and Tieton, and they take a lot of books. Kathy was saying they're really good with books.
They do.
Anybody else have any info on them? They take a lot of different stuff.
I don't, but I have an idea. Joe Gabriel put a library, a cupboard out on his front area where people could pick them up.
Yeah.
And so I gave a lot of novels to him and he was thrilled to get them because then people coming by can pick them up. That's an idea for books.
Yeah,
They couldn't build one big enough.
little libraries around. When you go for walks, you often see them. Yeah.
And then
If you
people
have,
also
if you have
put-
sewing, yeah, if you have sewing materials and stuff, Harmon Center takes those because they have quilters up there. So when
Oh, does Harmon
We-
Center take quilting?
they did, I took them up probably 6 to 7 boxes of sewing materials.
Okay.
And the ladies just went nuts over them. Whenever they have a new box, they get excited because they quilt.
Okay.
And they do take some puzzles too, but they only have so much room. So
Do they
I bet they
take
take yarn too, don't they?
Do they take
They what?
Yarn,
yarn?
I'm sure.
I
they-
don't know. What I did was I just called them up and asked them. So,
yeah.
but if they have some knitters or if they have that, I'm sure that they would take some.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they take games other than puzzles?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I mean, yeah. I mean, they have a checkout puzzle. They check out books there. They also check out puzzles too. People can check puzzles and take them home and stuff.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then I
that's-
did call the library at one time when they came and talked to us.
Uh-huh.
They were taking actual CD movies. If you wanted to get rid of some CDs, they actually sell those.
The D-
And then the proceeds help them run programs.
oh, really? DVDs? You're talking about DVDs?
Well, the CD, yeah,
It's the DVD.
yeah, the DVDs, yeah.
Oh, well, that's something, yeah,
But
maybe.
that was 2 years ago, so
Okay,
I
we
don't know
can
if it's
check on it,
changed.
'cause
with
I know
the-
they're not taking books now at libraries, as someone said. I mean, but in terms of books, let's skip to that. That's on the back side of this thing. Encore Books they have a complicated trade policy. So look at their website if you want, and mostly they give you store credit, or you can swap books from them for books that you bring. And as we said, Goodwill definitely takes books. Salvation Army does. And Inklings, Kathy, what did you find out at Inklings?
Okay, yeah, I only picked up one copy of the handout because I'm pretty sure it's probably online as well. But you were right, Mary Lou, that they are taking books again. There was a few months during COVID they discontinued. But their books, they only give you $1 a book and then they resell. I mean, this list is quite extensive of what they don't take. I basically take back to Inklings things I bought from them.
Uh-huh.
Is
Good
really,
idea. Yeah.
because they really want books that when you look on the shelf, you can't tell it's a used book versus a
Good.
new kind of thing. And you pull it out and go, oh, only $7.50 when it used to be $15. Oh, it's used kind of thing. But, they go through it. This is underlined in very good condition. And they don't purchase things they don't think are a good fit for their store. They don't take back things they don't need at that time. They
So what
don't.
you take a box of stuff in and leave it with your name, and they go through it and tell you
Yeah,
what.
exactly. And so, things that you could easily take to Goodwill, or I'm going to talk about Plaid in a minute here. They don't want big size books, the mass market things that they don't normally have on their shelves. They don't want anything dated. They don't want magazines. They don't want encyclopedias. They don't want computer books or textbooks. And unless a book is a classic, They typically don't take anything more than 5 years old.
Okay.
So it's really just a way of stocking their shelf and giving somebody an opportunity to buy something at half price. And, you know, a person could say, well, geez, if I gave it to Plaid Door, the person could go in and buy it for $2. But I guess the advantage of Inklings is people go there to buy books expecting certain things. And so at Inklings, it's more likely to get sold, I guess is what I'm saying. However, that being said, the Plaid Door on 40th, just north of Summit View, I guess north of Lincoln. I don't remember. I've only gone to church there for 30 years. I don't know.
I don't know where it is.
It's actually, you know, people from outside St. Timothy's work at Plaid Door, but it's actually run by St. Timothy's Church. And it doesn't have, it's right across 40th from Living Care area is where it is. And they don't have as much square footage as a lot of like the new Mission stores are just huge, and this place is smaller. But I took some books in there when I worked like 2 weeks ago, and I looked on Monday and they were sold. So people are coming in buying things, and unless it's something really fancy that you personally want to consign, they only charge 75 cents for a paperback and $2 for a hardback. And so people know that. And so I think that they have pretty good turnover on their books. And, you know, when you're giving a book away, that's what you really want. You want somebody else to get it and read it. And so.
Lucy in the library just said, we don't have space. We just don't have space enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing on here, and just in terms of categories, and Kathy would tell us a little bit more what she knows about Plaid Door and the clothing situation, but we also have electronics, shredding, and medication disposal. So we probably won't get to all those today, but take a look, and some of you might have ideas on some of those as well, and ideas on other things. I mean, I guess tools could go anywhere, but if they're, you know, I think Restore would be a great place to take tools.
Yeah, most other places, I don't think take tools very much.
Really? Okay.
What does Restore mean? Is that something to do with Habitat?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the Restore. It's the Restore up at the Habitat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've given them tools. It's it's strange what they can take and what they can't take. Like I took some sort of really good space heater kind of thing, and they can't do anything about space heaters because the insurance company doesn't want to be responsible for the fact that it, you know, might be faulty and blow up.
Oh.
And so because I sure didn't want the thing in my house, and the story that goes with that space heater would entertain you for hours. And so they said, you know, if you don't give this to us, we're just going to recycle it and we'll get some little value for the metal. And I said, fine, here you go.
Emily, what are you showing us?
Well, you've got on here about medicines. Maybe you've seen the advertisements on TV or
Yeah,
whatever. This is what I did. They send you a envelope. You can send away your medicines and not have to deal with it. So
You can also go down to Rite Aid and put them in a plastic bag without the bottle or anything and just drop them.
Well, that's fine if you want to do that, but here's an alternative.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
It's Med Project, and
What's it called?
Med Project.
Oh, Med Project. I'm sorry, Med
Yeah.
Project, and just look it up online.
Yeah, and I've got a phone number if you want it.
Okay.
844-633-7765.
Okay, that's great. That's a good
And,
reason.
you know, I have it here. I don't really have enough to got one thing I want to get rid of, but until I've got more things, I'm not gonna bother to send it, so.
Yeah, yeah.
To go back to the tools, we often at the plaid door have, things like, groovy old time screwdriver or this, or like I don't know if we've had like a small vise recently, but things that are really small, those go over really well because often like husbands will come in with their wife and she's looking around at all the clothes and all this kind of stuff and they don't have anything to do. So they pick through these tools and often end up buying one and maybe the wife doesn't buy anything at all. So you can take tools to the plaid door and you can also take dishes
Uh-huh.
and you can take almost anything to the plaid door.
Good.
Okay, well, listen, let's look over the list that you got and you can start thinking about, if there are additional places you know of or you have experience with, you could share that next time. But I think we're going to wrap up and remember to watch for the handouts that will be attached to the Zoom invitation in 2 weeks. So
Mary Lou,
we might have a little testimony about whether anybody got inspired during those 2 weeks and decided to get rid of some stuff just for the heck of it. So I think we might have inspired Toby. He needs it less than any of the rest of us, but.
Oh, no, I still have some things that, like,
Okay.
what am I gonna do with a kilt?
Let's have lists of people who will take things. I have tools and tools and tools.
yeah.
Okay, well, that's what you should
This
have.
list, was that on the email? I didn't look at the email that much because I was doing a lot of different stuff today. So
Yeah,
is this
resource.
a list that came out today?
Yeah, the list came with the email today.
Right.
Okay,
Take it out and Delma, I can help you. You can download that and you can print that off on your printer, Delma, and then we can add to it. Yeah, but yeah, remember that Deborah Ann and I are offering to have a special customized meeting with you, Delma, if you want.
Okay.
No hurry, but
No.
you're bringing up some important issues. So good. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And thanks Toby for leading the way. And I mean, if Gandhi's involved, we all ought to get inspired. That's all I have to say.
Yeah.
I'm not taking that lightly. But I'm not going to wear one of those doties either.
Oh, me either.
I'm sure all of you want the box of bullets I got in a drawer someplace that I don't know where to get rid of either.
Oh my gosh. Now that's something I'm not aware
Yeah.
of. Work on
Call
that.
one of the gun stores and see if they will take
Yeah.
them.
I'm kind of thinking of asking the state policeman at church if he'd just come over and get all this damn stuff and do something with it.
That's an idea.
If I act helpless, he might do it.
Yeah. that sounds-
Yeah, I know when Dick died, he had a bunch of guns and I had a neighbor up the road who knew he had them and he knew I didn't want them. And he would just, he came by and he took all of them. I have one little pistol that I didn't know I had at the time and didn't find till later, but he took them all up to his house and he'd show up every few days and hand me some money. It was just perfect. It's like, good.
Yeah,
That's good.
yeah.
Well, some people care about the money and others don't, but it's.
I didn't care about the money, but it was just fine to have it. I really
No,
needed
there's
it at
nothing
the
wrong with
time.
getting money.
The IRS, because
Yeah.
the Social Security screwed it up and they, Social Security wrote down his date of death as 1 month earlier than I told him it was. And so they took another month of Social Security out of my checking account, which made the account bounce, which meant I had no money to pay bills. So I
Oh.
needed that money.
Oh gosh, that's a drag.
That happens, I think, all the time.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, look, friendly reminder, everybody, that
Oh.
if you're interested in Audubon, that same invitation you got to, there's an interesting show tonight, and it's going to be on Guatemalan birds. So check it out if you're interested. And thanks,
Okay.
everybody.
All right, thank
See
you.
everyone in a couple
Everybody.
weeks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.